Welcome to Ask GC Anything, and you might be wondering why we're in cycling kit, and that's because we're in Mallorca for the first GCN event ever.
I'm wondering why we're in kit, because I'm cold. I want to, yeah. Anyway, coming up this week, we answer your questions on heart rate averages, sprints on the road versus on the track, and blood donations.
Don't forget, if you'd like to get involved on next week's show, then to use the hashtag talkback, and if you want the chance of winning 3 months free subscription from Zwift, then use the hashtag askgcntraining. First question comes in from Tapanda64100. Is it okay to be in heart rate zone 4 for my entire ride? My average heart rate is around 160 during my workouts every other day.
Well, you know what? It is okay to average zone 4 for an entire ride, but if you're doing it that often, that kind of suggests that there's a problem. It could, first off, it could be that your zones are actually set incorrectly and you're in fact averaging zone 3 as opposed to zone 4. But what is more likely the case, by the sounds of it, is that you're just doing the same type of rides day in and day out. They say variety is the spice of life, and that also counts for cycling. If you continue to do the same rides week in, week out, you're just not going to improve and you'll feel flat and not great. So what you really want to look to do is do some really low intensity sessions and then some really high intensity sessions and avoid that middle ground.
Yep, and if you do feel like you've got a higher heart rate than normal and you keep on having a high heart rate, that might be because you're a little fatigued, or you're coming down with a cold, or you might be ill. So yeah.
Have a good think and try and follow some of our suggestions.
Yeah, next question, Chris.
SMG, what is the difference between a sprint on the road and a sprint on the track?
Right, I know you're a sprinter, but I know, well, a little bit about sprinting.
You do.
And on those road sprints, it's more of an aerobic effort because it comes up after the end of a long stage, after around 100 or 160 kilometers even.
Yeah, exactly. And on the track, it is a pure neuromuscular or anaerobic effort lasting well under 30 seconds at best. And it's a massive difference. You know, track sprinters put out much more power than I could ever have dreamt, or any road sprinter really realistically dreams of producing.
Yeah, out of interest, what would Chris Hoy put out power-wise?
Oh, huge numbers. 2,500 watts plus.
And what were you putting out?
1,700.
Mate, that was good. That was good. I'm still proud of you, mate. And the winner of this week's 3 months free subscription from Zwift is Harry Barr. So well done to you. You've got 3 months free subscription coming right your way.
And by the sounds of it, it's going to come in useful because Harry has recently broken his leg and wants to get back to fitness. What should he do? Well, first off, Harry, we hope you're healing well.
Yes, we do.
We hope that you do get back to your full fitness. We have found, with the help from Zwift, this plan, which is 13 weeks long, and it's called Back to Fitness, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually called Build Me Up, but it's going to build you right back up. So if you put in some work and really work on those 53 workouts during that 13-week program, you really will find some improvement. But do let us know how you get on, because Chris and I would love to know how you get on and if you get back to where you were before the break.
I suspect you'll be even better, actually.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to have a break, not a broken leg, obviously. JTB727, any tips on how to get into racing and what training is best to become a more rounded cyclist? I'm 16, living in the Midwest of Ireland. I have a basic road bike, but like most teenagers, I have very little money to make my bike better.
Right, straight away, get to a bike shop and then ask for the nearest cycling club. Yeah. Cycling clubs are such a good way to go out and ride with like-minded people, and they'll also really help young athletes like yourself to find good races to get involved with, circuit races, even cross races, and it's really just a really good place to go and talk to people about it.
Yeah, you can call on the expertise of all the older riders, and generally speaking, and like I'd be very surprised if it wasn't the case in your local clubs, everyone just wants to help. It is a really encouraging environment.
Yes, it is.
And Ireland has a fantastic scene of racing. I remember racing over there when I was a child in 2001, I think it was. And everyone was just really happy to help and really encouraging. And you will find the information you're looking for. Ride your bike, enjoy riding your bike, try and do other sports as well, and try and do different disciplines within cycling, because there's a lot more than just road riding. Yeah. You might find that actually you're really good at something else.
Yeah, and I would say also is that a lot of pros all have come from clubs. Yep. So yeah, just get to a club really.
I did my first bike race aged 22. Now that's pretty old by the standard of professional cycling, where most people start as juniors, then work their way up through the ranks. But it is perfectly possible to start racing at any age. You might not make it as a pro, but then you might, and you'll never know unless you give it a try.
Right, next up,
it's Preston Yardley. Hello, question for you. With the recent crash of the team time trial with Bora, my question is, who pays for the damage to the equipment?
Well, all teams have insurance for a start.
They do.
And also, on top of that, they have fantastic bike sponsors. So Specialized, for example, in their case, would probably have done something along the lines of supplying them with a bike, and then afterwards it would be chased up via insurance, I would imagine.
Yeah, it would be, and they would get replacement bikes straight away, so then they'll be back on the road. Yeah, it could be even as fast as the next day.
Yep, indeed. Right, Michael Conlon. I'm doing interval training sessions, but I'm also trying to put in the miles on the bike to train for sportives and supported tours. Is there training benefit from continuing to ride for an hour or so after doing my intervals, basically? So he's asking, does it make sense to continue at a lower power after you've done those hard intervals?
So you can do it. You can do your intervals in the beginning of the ride and then put in an hour or two afterwards. But if you want to get the most out of your intervals and you want to go really hard at them, you do want to be quite fresh and recovered, so then you get the most out of it. And then if you want to do a really good endurance ride, it's better to then space out on the weekends. But if you want a hard ride, then you can add it.
Yep, and there's one more thing I'd add to that actually. That's if you really want to be feeling good at the end of your sportif or your event, then something called fatigue resistance is where you want to work on. So doing those intervals after a long ride.
Yep, and that'll help in races if you're into racing, because that'll help for that end effort, for the winning effort, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Right, next up we have Colin Latter. Maintaining power levels along the flat is reasonably easy, but how do you control or maintain sub FTP power when the road starts to go up? I always find I'm well over FTP.
Control.
Yes, it is control. Use your power meter wisely. Like, it's a tool there to help you.
Yes.
And it does take a while, but if you exercise control, you will absolutely get stronger by doing so. So stay under your FTP.
Funny you say that, because I remember in a training camp with you, when I went off hell for leather.
We were talking about this today.
Yeah, and then you came up, sat at your certain power, and you ended up passing me.
Yeah, and
I was gutted, to be honest.
You know, there's a time and a place for going above and below your threshold power, but if you consistently on your endurance rides really strictly stick below it, no matter how slow you're going, you will incrementally continue to build.
Yes, you
promise it works.
Right, next question comes in from Language Bonehead. I'm 65 years old and have a sense that I need to double or triple the recovery time of most of your GCN recommendations. I notice if rain keeps me off the bike for a few days, I end up being much faster. What recovery is recommended for seniors that want to maximise their training?
Well, as ever, I am quite fortunate that my father-in-law is a senior cyclist. He's in his late 60s and he's still incredibly fit. He still races a couple of times a week throughout the summer. And what he's told me is that it is harder to fit in those intensive sessions throughout the summer, and what you have to do is kind of space them out a little bit, and you do have to accept that there is more recovery time needed, so allowing an extra day sometimes between events. So for example, he likes to race on a Tuesday or a Thursday and a Saturday. If you're feeling tired, it's sensible just to drop one of them, and then pay attention to using those low intensity rides, because it is nice to get out on the bike, and certainly if you're of that age, you possibly have more time available to ride. So make sure you pay attention to riding low intensity in between the intense sessions, and 2 intense sessions a week should be enough for you.
Yeah, and listen to your body, because that is the most important thing. So if you feel fatigued, then take the day off.
Listening to your body at any age is one of the most important things to do.
Right, next question from Blake Harper. Is beer actually good for recovery?
No, simply. I know Dan swears by it.
Beer. You're going to need a second before we get going.
He does, doesn't he? And it doesn't inhibit your hydration, but it's proven to reduce recovery by up to 25%, which is huge, massive. Imagine just being 25% worse than you could be.
And on the topic of beer, is Guinness good for recovery?
No. Anyway, so the only other thing we'd say to this is one beer every now and again, psychologically, will do you more good than the physical damage it could possibly do. However, we do not condone drinking, do we?
No. Right, next question from Malaku Ginal. Is that how you said?
Possibly.
Yeah?
I'm going with it.
Okay. I am new to cycling and don't know what to wear in cold conditions, and I love your work. Well, I'm glad you like the work, because we love bringing it to you. But if you were in a cold, if you are riding in cold climates, then wear what I'm wearing now, which is an undervest,
A thermal undervest,
a jersey, arm warmers, and a thermal jacket, which is like a windstopper.
Yeah. So today we've been out in conditions that were under 2 degrees up in the mountains.
Yes.
And whilst we were incredibly cold, that's because we ended up standing still in the rain. Had it been dry, actually what you're wearing now would be perfect. If the temperature drops below 0, then adding a second base layer can be really good. What I used to do was a net base, so like a mesh base layer, long sleeve, underneath a thermal one, because then you get those little hexagonal pockets, which really help lock in a little bit of warm air.
Layering's the key really, but make sure you also take a cape with you, because capes are really good locking in the heat that your body produces, and it will really keep your body core temperature. And
stay on top of changing your layers, because if it starts to warm up and you start to sweat, you will absolutely get colder than had you not started to sweat too much.
Right, I hope that helps. Next question is from Lawrence James. As an amateur racer, will donating blood impact my performance? Thinking about signing up to give blood, but not sure if it will impact on my performance.
Well, we've done a little bit of research on this.
We did.
Actually, what you want to do to ensure that your health is intact and that your performance isn't suppressed for too long, you want to reduce your intensity and your volume by around 20% for the first 2 weeks. Within the first 2 to 6 hours after donating blood, you want to make sure you have some sort of low-fat snack. So a small meal with like a simple, easy to digest pasta or a sandwich, that type of thing.
And after 2 weeks, you should be back to 100%, shouldn't you?
I was going to go on to say that actually hydration is very important in that early stage. And you may suffer from breathlessness. This is because your body has fewer red blood cells than it did before, which means its oxygen carrying ability has been somewhat diminished. But if you are careful with yourself, you look after yourself, you will absolutely get back to where you were before. And it's a fantastic thing to do, and you will be saving lives, which makes it an incredibly important thing to do.
Have you done it?
Good job. No, I haven't.
Would you?
I would, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Right, next up is a question from Omar Tan. What should I do if I start to plateau?
Good question, and I personally would rest and then restructure your training. Your body loves variety, it loves changing up and switching up, because this means it will adapt and ultimately make you stronger. So try that. So maybe look at intervals or endurance rides, and it just makes it up really. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and a rest could be anything from 3 to 14 days, depending on how much of a plateau you feel like you've hit and what point you are in your season.
And then rebuild yourself back up. And on that note, mate, that is it. It's the end of this week's Ask GC Anything, and well, it's getting pretty cold, and we could do with a shower.
Yes, it's been a beautiful day, but we are starting to smell, aren't we?
Yeah, if you would like to get involved in next week's show, then to use the hashtag talkback and put it in the comment section below.
And to be in with the chance of winning a free 3-month subscription to Zwift, use the hashtag askgcntraining.
Yeah, and if you did like this video, then give it a big thumbs up. Right, you ready?
Yep, we'll be back in the studio.
Let's go for a shower.
See you there.
Not together, obviously.